Glen. Very good. So we're introducing Glen, Glen uh, Bedsoe, and
Bledsoe.
Glen Bledsoe.
Yeah.
And Glen is a retired school teacher with 26 years of experience teaching students ranging from elementary all the way up to grad students. Glenn is a talented musician, artist, writer, musician, and of course, a hypnotist. So Glenn combines his experience and talent to create dynamic audio recordings that expand the possibilities of hypnosis and the trance experience, taking them to a whole new level. So Glenn is presenting today, and his presentation is called Creating Hypnotic Audio Media. So without further ado, Glenn.
Thank you. This has been many, many months in fact, ever since I joined OHA, I had this idea that I knew I had things that I could present that I think people would find useful and would enjoy. And so I started making notes immediately, and Larry and I have had lunch many times, and we've sort of battered this idea back and forth. And so he's been very encouraging. And so a lot of this is as a result of his encouragement. And I want to thank Gene too for spending some time with me and going over an early version of this and helping me work some things out. And there was a misconception that I had that she nailed that. Oh yeah, I get it now, that kind of thing. And I thought before I started, I would just do a really brief, like place some dots on my history that kind of got me here. And when I was a kid, I remember probably the very earliest memory that applies here. As a kid, I got a very nice reel-to-reel tape recorder one Christmas from my parents, and it was a metallic one. It wasn't made out of plastic or anything. And I would spend hours writing little radio programs and then recording them. And I would play them back, and then I have friends join in, so we would have these elaborate scripts that we would do. And then I think a lot later, when I was about 18, I picked up the guitar, and music is a tremendous influence on everything I do. And even these hypnotic recordings, there's something of music in there. Um, and then in the 70s, I got a job in a music store, and that's where I picked up a lot of my information about uh, microphones and PA systems and that kind of thing. Even though the equipment is the same, it's used very differently. PA systems versus audio recordings. Let's see what else. When I became a teacher in the late 90s. I went to Willamette University, and they had a program which really emphasized educational technology for new teachers coming in. And I had never used a computer before. I had no idea what they were like. I felt like I was that generation that didn't do computers. And I could see immediately, oh, this is a powerful tool for me. I can do this not only for teaching, but I can do it for all my arts. And immediately I began to work on this. And by the mid 90s, I was writing and creating electronic music, which is very different than guitar playing. And if you go to Amazon, you can look my name up, and you'll see there I have albums up, individual songs up there. They're all electronic. And then around that same time, my students, anything I've ever learned outside of the classroom, and if it's interesting, I bring it into the classroom. And so I taught my students to write scripts. We would collaboratively, we would write these elaborate scripts, these stories, and then we'd record them line by line. How do you get 34 kids to be quiet in the classroom? You don't, except for very brief periods of time. So I built this process, what I call the jigsaw process, of assembling scripts from individual, paragraphs or a sentence or whatever, and we would add graphics to it and all that kind of thing, and that is a very powerful influence. And then eventually I became a hypnotist. That's another story unto itself. And I would say probably another very powerful influence is Ken Nordine's word jazz. If you have not seen Ken Nordine's word jazz, it will, especially some of those later pieces, it will pull your mind apart. He was a gifted voiceover artist, even though he wasn't a hypnotist. He could have been. He almost was, whether he knew it or not. And I had a chance to meet Ken online a couple of years before he passed away, and we had a pretty good discussion. So I don't think there's anything else I need to say, except I do have a digital goodie bag that I will offer for people, and they'll have pieces of notes and things and audio pieces. Now the next thing is, how do I get my how do I share what I want to share here? Video. I push a
Share
video
screen button icon in the middle of the bottom.
Okay, I got share sound. It says there's something about share video. What happens if I click that? I'm not sure what it's asking me. All right. Normally I have.
Glenn, I put this out for your consideration.
Yeah.
Go to the share, and at the very top, you'll see 3 different tabs. If you go to the middle, it'll say share computer sound.
Yeah, I've done that. I was on advanced to begin with, so I need to go to basic. Okay. Let me try this. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to play it just a little bit, and if you hear sound, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, then we'll troubleshoot that. Hearing sound? That's what I was afraid of. Okay, so we will go back. Share screen. Now I'm going to click on the share sound button. It does that to me all the time.
Yes.
Good. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to be a presenter today. I am honored to be here, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to share what I've learned over my years as a hypnotist, a graphic artist, a magician, a musician, and a sound designer. I deeply believe in the value of overlapping multidisciplinary influences. I think we could learn from actors, improv artists, stand-up comedians, radio announcers, and other voiceover talents. We could learn a lot from theater and stage directors. I worked in a music store for 5 years back in the 70s, where I learned, among many other things, about microphones and audio equipment. Technology has changed over the years, although the physics of sound hasn't. I have a lot to show and tell you this afternoon, and I'm guessing that among us there are many levels of expertise and comfort with making audio recordings. I don't want anyone who is less experienced to feel overwhelmed, and I believe I'll have something for even those who have made hypnotic audio recordings for many years. It's my intent that this presentation honors everyone's knowledge and expertise. There's nothing worse than someone telling you you're doing it all wrong and do it my way. I hope that each of you can take an idea or a technique and add it in your next recording. This will be an overview of approaches and concepts, and not get too specific about software or how to use it. There are just too many variables to cover in this kind of presentation. Being a retired teacher, I know that it's a good practice to have some idea at what level my students are currently at. So if you would send me answers to the following questions in the chat box, I'd appreciate it. How many people here today already make hypnotic recordings? If you don't, would you like to? I've tried to make this as operating system agnostic as I can, but at some point the issue comes up when talking about software. So, how many people here use Mac, and how many people here use PCs? I'll take a look at your answers when I reflect on my presentation later. I hope to have time at the end for questions and comments, so if you think of something during the presentation, write it down for later. Making hypnotic recordings is not new. Not long ago, these would have been cassette tapes, but today are likely to be MP3 files downloaded from the internet, YouTube videos, or maybe CDs, although even those are considered old tech today. Sometimes these recordings are documentations of live sessions with clients. Sometimes these recordings focus on specific topics for general sales to the public and everything in between. Digital audio recordings are a way of expanding the number of people you help, increasing the locations where your potential clients live to anywhere in the English-speaking world or farther if you're multilingual. They are a way of creating more income, and once a recording is posted, clients can buy and download them with no additional effort on your part. These recordings can continue to bring in money for many years to come. They can become a significant stream of passive income. Your recordings can become a significant part of your brand, more than just quick knockoff backroom merch sales, and when done well, attract customers to your office as well. Today, with good recording equipment at reasonable prices, which you may already own, and the right software, the door opens to not just higher fidelity, but expands the possibilities of hypnotic technique to new areas. And when you create dynamic audio recordings of instantly recognizable higher quality, you distinguish your work and your personal brand. It's not just your words or how you say them, but in what sound environment you present them. The quality of your work will speak for itself. It is time, boys and girls, to up your game. Move up to Digital Hypnotic Media 2.0. Would you like to learn how to do that? Before we go any further, I want to note that it will enhance your experience of this presentation if you're wearing headphones. Really, they are a necessity. Over-the-ear headphones, cans, are better than on-the-ear headphones, which are better than earbuds, which are infinitely better than listening with computer speakers. Over-the-ear headphones come in open and closed designs. Open allows some outside sound to come in and also leak out, which might make some people feel as if they're experiencing music playing in their environment. Closed design isolates the ear from outside ambient sounds and prevents what you're listening to from disturbing anyone else in the room. I'll talk a bit about noise-canceling headphones later. The core message of my presentation is the importance of stereo, dichotic stereo. That is, sounds that are designed to be heard separately by each ear. This is vital. Listening to dynamic hypnosis recordings without headphones is like trying to cool off by standing in front of your refrigerator with the door open. Yeah, it kind of works, but most of the good stuff spills out onto the floor. Which means you will need to wear headphones while you're mixing your recordings, although not necessarily when you're recording them, and you need to strongly encourage your clients to wear headphones of some kind while they're listening, or they will miss many of the benefits of all your efforts. Like most living organisms, we are symmetrical creatures. We have left and right sides which more or less mirror each other. Two pairs of our sensory organs, seeing and hearing, take advantage of the symmetry. They are humans' dominant locational senses. Our eyes and ears are placed one on each side, left and right. Our eyes are placed forward in the manner of predators. Our ears are placed to the sides in the manner of prey. It's a good balance. Our minds use information from our eyes and ears to create maps of our spatial relationship to our surroundings that forms a fundamental part of how we understand reality. We take this for granted, but our sense of space is a construct of our minds and as such is an additional tool for hypnotherapists to learn to use. Indeed, as I'm sure you already well know, our understanding and interpretation of reality is a construct of our minds. Culturally, we associate trance with eyes closed. Trance is therefore an auditory-based experience, although not necessarily so. When we try to locate a soft sound coming from somewhere in the room, what do? We close our eyes to improve the sensitivity of our ears. Sometimes we may cup a hand to one ear or turn our head to get a better fix on the sound. When our clients close their eyes to listen, they automatically create a space in their auditory imaginations. You want to make their interpretation of the space your words reside in, the space they're creating with their ears and their minds, to be as big, rich, and as enjoyable as you can, designed specifically for their needs. Vocabulary: dB or decibels, loudness. Higher values indicate louder sound, lower values indicate softer sounds. In a dichotic digital recording, you have the ability to place the sound of your voice where it needs to be without any concern for outside noises, distractions, or interruptions. To relocate your voice from being a single voice in a small office to a voice centered inside your client's mind, where all of your subtle inflections and colorations are evident and not lost in the ambience of your room. If you think of your voice as a solo instrument, how much more compelling will it be when your voice becomes part of an ensemble, an orchestra, or better still, think of your voice as an element in a landscape. How do we make this landscape? What does it sound like? We design our landscapes by placing sound elements across the horizon, which you can think of as the x-axis, and we stack layers more or less according to pitch, the y-axis. Sounds that are softer tend to be interpreted as farther away, closer sounds nearer, the z-axis. Using these three elements, we establish a 3D auditory space. The first and foundational layer consists of binaural beats. They are foundational because they are continuous and low in pitch. Heinrich Wilhelm Dove, 1803 to 1879, was a Bavarian scientist with a deep interest in meteorology, climatology, and experimental physics. He was the one who discovered that tropical cyclones rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, but clockwise in the southern. He discovered binaural beats in 1839 and published his findings, one paper of more than 300 published during his career, in the scientific journal Repertorium der Physik. Dove Crater on the Moon and Dove Bay in Greenland are named for him. He also invented the Dove prism. Binaural beats remained a puzzling but interesting phenomenon until Gerald Oster, in 1973, published an article in Scientific American called Auditory Beats in the Brain. In this article, Oster assembled scattered bits of research on the topic since Dove, offering fresh insight to research on the phenomenon. Oster considered binaural beats to be a powerful tool for cognitive and neurological research. He believed it offered answers to unsolved questions like how we are able to focus on specific sounds in a sea of noise, also known as the cocktail party effect. A binary beat is an auditory illusion perceived when two different pure tone sine waves, both with frequencies lower than 1500 Hz, with less than 40 hertz difference between them are presented to a listener dichotically, separately, one through each ear. Dichotic is important. Dichotic, at least in how I use the term, is more or less synonymous to stereo, except dichotic sounds take stereo a step farther by fastidiously controlling which ear hears which sounds. The hallucination is that we perceive a third note somewhere in the middle that isn't actually present, which is the key to its power. By the way, the yellow graphic in the background is a graphic representation of a binaural beat. People with normal hearing can hear sounds between 20 and 20,000 hertz, so binaural beats at 1500 hertz and below cover a large segment within the normal hearing range, indicated in pink. Binaural beats is represented in the lower bar in yellow. You can see that binaural beats covers all the lower range and below, and all of the mid-range of normal hearing. All values are measured in hertz. For reference, middle C on the piano is around 261 hertz. Okay, what's a hertz? A car rental company. Nah, but not that kind of hertz. In the science world, hertz without a T is a unit used to measure sound frequency, that is, pitch. Higher values indicate higher pitches, lower values, lower pitches. Many health claims have been made regarding their use. Binaural beats are organized into levels or categories according to their pitch. Delta is the lowest frequency state. It is said to be linked to deep sleep, healing and pain relief, meditation, anti-aging, and access to the unconscious mind. 1 to 4 hertz is well below the range of normal hearing, much lower. Theta, 4 to 8 hertz, associated with meditation, deep relaxation, creativity, also well below the range for normal human hearing. Alpha, 8 to 14 hertz, relaxation and focus, reduce stress, maintain positive thinking, enter a flow state, increase learning capabilities, again below the range of human hearing. Beta, 14 to 30 hertz, keep your attention focused, analytical thinking and solving problems, stimulate energy and action, high-level cognition, crosses into the range of normal human hearing. Gamma, 30 to 100 hertz, aids in increased cognitive enhancement, attention to detail, helping in memory recall, creativity, well within the range of human hearing. Before we get any further, let's back up a bit. Some of you may remember a time when you moved into a new apartment. What was the first thing you unpacked? Your hi-fi stereo. Remember the cement blocks and the boards and arranging your albums so you could find Santana Abraxas or Peter Frampton live quickly? The bigger the system, the more expensive the system, the bigger the speakers. Big speakers capable of producing thundering bass notes, much to the annoyance of your neighbors. The hi-fi industry's dirty little secret was that LPs, turntables, and amplifiers produced an audible and unpleasant hiss. To cover the sound of the hiss, manufacturers push their equipment bass frequencies because bass does a pretty good job of masking hiss. As we transitioned to digital audio, first with CDs and then with iPods just after 9/11, that paradigm shifted. Hiss was nearly eliminated, and bass sounds were necessarily balanced against the middle and higher registers. which was great news for the apartment dwellers who got tired of hearing and feeling their neighbors' music through the floor. The new digital players were highly portable, private, and produced virtually no hiss, but since they relied on headphones, usually earbuds, they lost that thumping bass. Why? That's because it takes space to propagate large, low-pitched bass sound waves. Headphones, no matter how sophisticated, run up against the limitations of physics. The length of a 20 Hz sound wave, the lowest end of human hearing, is 56.5 feet. No headphones are that large, nor are home theaters large enough to host waves that big. Headphones are not going to be able to create pitches below 20 Hz. Human hearing doesn't go below 20 Hz, and how can binaural beats below 20 Hz be experienced? The answer is that the middle pitch of the binary beat is not heard with the ears, but is created in the mind as a result of the two pitches heard dichotically. The relationship between those two pitches creates the binary beat, and that pitch can be lower than the ability of headphones to create or human hearing to detect, depending on how far apart those values are. Here we have an example of a theta wave, even though the two pitches entering the ears are in the gamma range. So, binaural beats act as a foundation for your recordings. They are the consistent subsurface which supports your client in trance because it's always there, even when you pause between sentences. Where do you get binaural beats? There are YouTube videos that incorporate binaural beats into New Age music. I have a couple of binaural beats included in my handout materials you are welcome to use. Otherwise, you need special software to make them. I use a program called Metasynth, which we will look briefly at later. It's a software synthesizer that does not connect to a keyboard or any other traditional instrument. You basically paint pictures, which it converts to sounds, or you can take sounds and turn them into pictures, modify those pictures, and convert them back into sounds. I'll have an example of that as well later. Our next layer is ambient sound. They are an important and powerful tool for spreading the illusion of horizontal space. They remind the brain that there is a stretch of space from far left to the far right and all points in between. Importantly, they also have many memory and emotional associations. We respond automatically to certain ambient sounds because of past experiences associated with them. If you choose to use bird songs, make your clients feel more comfortable by using bird songs that they are used to or grew up with. There are many YouTube videos featuring birds from different regions of the world. You can use ambient music if that sound is part of your brand. If you're selling your recording and you don't have the rights to the music by a given ambient musician, then it becomes an ethical and possibly legal problem. If you create your own ambient music, then experiment with it, using it as a layer. For a specific client, you may want to check whether they like that kind of music or not. Don't assume everyone likes the same kind of music. However, never doubt the power of music to move minds. The next layer is your voice. Your voice should be in the center around which everything else pivots. When you record your voice, there's no need to record it in stereo. Allow the design and arrangement of the other elements in your recording to fill out the stereo space. We'll talk more about how to record your voice to get the best results later, but keep in mind you want your voice inside the mind of your clients. From my experience, my voice works best when it's in the exact center, recorded with little or no reverb. This seems to create a kind of inside the head intimacy, just right for hypnosis. However, working in stereo means you can, in addition, at times, place your voice with separate, sometimes overlapping suggestions into the left and right ears of your clients, the purpose of which is to overload and overwhelm their limited conscious minds and allow their powerful, multitasking, unconscious minds to sort out multiple suggestions without filtering. There are possibilities here to address the hemispheres of our brain separately, making different suggestions to the analytical and creative sides. The left brain is said to be the logical side, but since we're cross-wired, you'd place suggestions that address logic to the right ear. The right hemisphere is said to be the creative side, and you'd make suggestions regarding creativity to the left ear. These voices would not be presented in isolation, of course, but as elements in an ongoing description of the audio landscape you create. This can be a very effective technique, but difficult to do live. Easy to do with recordings. Next is the high frequency layer, which can be thought of as wind chimes or high-pitched bells, singing bowls, glass harp. Some higher-pitched bird chirps will fill the space as well. I use a digital shimmering sound I created myself. All fall into this category. Picking the right high sound and mixing it with the others needs to be done carefully. Think ethereal. The wrong sound, or too loud, or if the sound is distorted, can be annoying. Cheaper headphones may distort the highs. As we get older, our ears get less sensitive to highs. Extra credit, filtered voices. The best way to describe filtered voices is to think of the sound of an old telephone. It's a similar sound to the voice of the Mandalorian, if you've watched that show. A somewhat nasal sound, sibilant, and easy to understand. These sounds are probably best reserved for short phrases. They can be placed to either side of the center and are most effective when they do repeat. These short sounds can be used to build rhythmic expectations, which increases interest and creates a diversion too. More about these later.
Relax even more. Relax even more.
Now that you understand the principle of layers, I'd like to suggest a new principle hinted at earlier, the expectation of symmetry. This expectation helps to engage the listener, provides another layer of interest for your client's conscious mind. It produces one more process for the conscious mind to have to deal with, and it does so subtly. By introducing repeating audible words, phrases, or sounds in patterns, and occasionally shifting and delaying them, you can create engagement with fulfilled or unfulfilled expectations. In Western culture, because of the way we read, the first introduction of the word or sound is on the left, moments later on the right. This pattern over time repeats in a kind of shuffling pattern. I can imagine that Japanese language recordings would be the opposite. Within this symmetry, a rhythm is established. If there is a delay in the response, Listeners expect and wait for the response. They become focused and locked into that expectation, and as they are waiting, they are wide open to suggestions. The elements can be spoken words, phrases, natural sounds, or even abstract digital sounds. There's a variation which I call call and response. If you're using words or phrases, they may act as commentaries to the central idea or annotations to the point the main voice is making. I most often use filtered voices for these words or phrases. You can also use it to pose questions and then answer that question. It invites participation. It's used in rallies, for example. What do we want? Peace. When do we want it? Now. Think about church meetings when the pastor calls out to the congregation and they all reply, Amen. Okay, now that we've gotten past some theory, let's begin to approach the practical. How do you create these recordings? I can think of two methods. The first method is the soundboard or live method. The second method is what I call jigsaw. The soundboard method, or sometimes I call Farrago, which is a confused mixture. This method uses software that is designed for DJing or live podcasts and so on. There are many such applications for both Windows and Mac. Using it, it's easy to build layers of sounds and loops and mix in your own voice. The loops will be of different lengths so that the sounds will never repeat exactly the same with each repetition. Usually the sounds are represented by rectangles and can be triggered by double-clicking them or pressing a corresponding key on your keyboard. They can be set to play once each time the rectangle is triggered or loop until you trigger it again. This falls into the category of performance art, and it can be used to make recordings or live via Zoom face-to-face. You'll need a third application to record these sounds. For the Mac, I use Audio Hijack by Rogue Amoeba. Prose, a simpler method in some ways, and with less of a software learning curve, and it wouldn't take much to adapt this for use with live face-to-face clients. Cons. It's difficult to keep your mind on your words, refer to a script if you use one, monitor your client's breathing, facial tones, skin color, and press keys at various times to trigger sounds in loops. With practice, it may get easier. It can be used to simply trigger the loops and just let them run, but that's missing much of the art of digital hypnotic audio 2.0, as you will discover. Next, jigsaw method. This method involves recording all the bits of your sound layers and spoken words and assembling them in a software program like pieces of a puzzle. This is not an art performed in real time per se, like painting or sculpture as opposed to dance or music performance. Pros, it's pretty personally rewarding to hear the near perfect renditions of your words, and it produces a very polished result. Cons, it's slower, requires you to invest more in learning marginally more complicated software. This is my preferred method. Here's an example of what it looks like in Final Cut Pro, which is actually a video editing program and not just audio. It represents a 15-minute recording, which you'll hear at the end of this presentation. Each rectangle represents a pre-recorded sound, which I drag and drop onto the work area. The order left to right represents each part of the sequence in time. The longer the rectangle, the longer the sound. You can space them, nudge them, however you like, to pace your client with the sounds and words. Reuse sounds by copying and pasting them as you would in a text document. The tracks, top to bottom, overlap and play simultaneously. The vertical order of the tracks don't make any difference. Some software programs can be used to assign specific stereo positions or volume or special effects to an entire track. This method may require one application or several. You will need the ability to record your voice and make simple edits to cut, trim, or fade. The ability to build layers in your recordings. The ability to position sounds anywhere from left to center to right. As a bonus, it's a good idea to have the ability to normalize, equalize, and add other special effects, which I'll talk a bit more about in a moment. In most cases, a software program will include all of these. All sound is made of sine waves. Sounds are pictured as having different waveforms, but the sine wave is the fundamental form. From what I understand, other waveforms are combinations of sine waves. These sine waves are usually graphically represented in software used to edit them. As a side note, if you have a sound wave and you flip it upside down and play it simultaneously with the original sound, they cancel each other out. That's how noise-canceling headphones work. It samples outside sounds, flips the sound wave over, and plays it back through the headphones, canceling the outside sounds. If the amplitude of the sound wave pushes higher or lower than the media used to record it, it gets clipped off. With clipping, the smooth sine waves get squared off at the top and the bottom, which means there's distortion. If you're getting distortion, it could be that you're too close to the mic or something in your recording chain can't handle that much sound. The usual solution is to back away from the mic a little or turn down the volume. An individual sound can clip, or the sum of all your sound layers can clip. Clipping is higher than anything 0 decibels. There are 3 important audiophile types you'll need to understand and work with. WAV files, WAV, are a format originating on Windows, but now are also sometimes used on the Macintosh. AIF or AIFF or AIF is a format mostly used on the Mac. When you're making recordings, you should start with either a WAV or an AIF file and not compress them using MP3 until the very last step before you give them to your clients. With most software applications, each time you save an MP3, you throw away more frequencies as it recompresses them to make them smaller. We don't often like the sound of our own voices when we first hear them recorded. The reason why is that our personal experience of our voices is partially from our ears, but also a matter of sound conduction through the bones of our heads, including sinus cavities, which add a certain resonance. One way to regain some of that sound you hear but others don't is to use a graphic equalizer. A graphic equalizer, or EQ, is an elaborate tone control. Instead of having just bass and treble controls, you have a cut and boost control over many frequencies, usually 10, that cover a human voice. You may have heard the term a 10-band graphic equalizer. That way you cut the frequencies you find annoying or boost those that match the sound you hear in your head. It's outside the scope of this presentation to spend time showing you how to do this, but I have a YouTube link for you in your digital swag bag that will show you how. Compression. Compression is a way that sound engineers even out a sound recording. It brings up soft sounds and brings down loud sounds. This has a variety of applications, but you've probably noticed its use when TV commercials suddenly get louder than the programs. The commercials aren't getting louder per se, but sound engineers are kicking up the compression to bring up the overall gain, making them seem louder. For the purposes of creating hypnotic recordings, I feel they tend to disrupt the natural dynamics of my voice. We're all about balancing subtlety. If you use it sparingly. Default settings are usually just fine. Or if this feels overwhelming to you, just skip it. Reverb controls can be bewildering. What do all those sliders even mean? The important slider is the dry-wet mix. Usually just 2 to 3% is fine. You don't want to sound like you're in a cave. The rule of thumb with reverb is you shouldn't notice it. If you do, it's too much. It should add just a touch of what I call presence. So your voice doesn't sound too flat, although flat isn't necessarily a bad thing. You don't want your voice to come across as brittle. So a little reverb can allow your voice to have the loudness it needs to be inside your clients' heads without being brittle or abrasive. Good news. There is no lack of affordable sound recording software, some of it free or at least trial versions. Some of it is music-oriented. What we're doing is closer to podcasting, so if it's labeled for use in podcasting, it's probably going to be useful. There's Audacity, which is cross-platform. It's free. It lends itself to the Jigsaw method. There's something called Ocean or Ocean Audio. It's also cross-platform and free. I've never used it. Rogue Amoeba makes a series of small, inexpensive applications that are easy to use, stable, attractive, flexible, and they lend themselves to the live method. If you have a video editing program, it may have audio editing capabilities too. Some you put on your computer, some are online, which might be an issue for reasons of confidentiality. Some of the free versions have limited features. You can use simpler software programs for different parts of the process, which is what I do, or one program that does it all. I use Audio Hijack to record and Final Cut Pro to mix. I also use Metasynth to develop the more creative elements, which are part of my style, my secret sauce. Bad news. Many advanced software applications look like the cockpits of a commercial airline jet. It can be confusing. This is where YouTube is your friend. Almost any software available has a YouTube video or series of YouTube videos for instruction at beginning levels. How do you make those cool digital sounds? There are many software synth applications available for desktop computers, iPads, tablet computers, and iPhones and other cell phones. Some of them are just fun to play with, others more serious, but all potentially useful to creating elements of your audio landscapes or maybe spacescape. This is where I make filtered voices, but you could make a similar sound using a graphic equalizer setting like the one shown here. This is an example of turning a sound into a picture and then turning the picture back into a sound. When the sound is rendered as a picture, the pixels of that picture can be nudged into scales, creating a musical tonality to your voice. Used in moderation, it can be very effective. Overused, the novelty could be annoying. Pads. Another very useful thing Metasynth can do is to create what is called synth pads. These are sounds that flow but internally modulate. I've included a sample of a pad in your digital swag bag. Hardware. Many of these things you probably already have, especially if you already do audio recordings or can cobble together from materials you have at home. You don't have to buy new equipment if you already have equipment that you're happy with. These are merely my recommendations. In the end, nobody cares about what kind of equipment you recorded with. All they care about is the experience you give them. An acoustically dead room. A dead room is a room which is devoid of any kind of echo or even the slightest reverb. An empty room with flat walls and floors is the worst place to record audio. One of the best spaces is a walk-in closet where all the surfaces of the clothing will absorb any sound reflections. Many closed closets are too small to set up a recording studio, but there are other ways to absorb sounds. Here's an example of how to use aid cartons to deaden sound. Digital audio recorders. These are small enough to fit in your pocket and usually come with built-in stereo microphones. They would be handy for recording ambient sounds. Disadvantage, stereo for your voice isn't particularly helpful. You may be limited in what kind of microphone you can use with it if the quality of the built-in mic isn't that great. Some are designed to make voice notes, some are intended to record lectures and don't record with very high audio quality. Nearly all of them are omnidirectional, meaning they pick up sounds in all directions and are not shielded as cardioid mics are. That means you'll pick up every little sound in the room around you and not just your voice, which adds an unwanted element to your recordings. If you have one, use it, but I wouldn't recommend you go out and buy one for the purposes of making hypnotic recordings. They are a tool designed for other purposes. Any mic suited for podcasting will be a better tool for you. Your best recording device is your computer. Desktop or laptop is fine. Slight advantage to the laptop in that you can move it easily to different locations. You could take it to locations where you want to record ambient sounds, bubbling brooks, the wind in the trees, bird songs, and you can also set it up in your dead room. Microphones plug into their recorders in different ways. Some use a 1/4-inch jack, some use an XLR plug. For most purposes, you will probably want a mic with a USB input connector, since you'll want to plug it directly into your computer. There are ways to plug other kinds of mics into computers with boxes, but keep it simple. There are a number of different mic patterns, meaning mics that pick up sound from different directions. Cardioid mics are designed to pick up sound from only one direction. They are shielded more or less around the back and sides, meaning they are designed not to pick up ambient sounds. They are best suited for voices. The output is mono, meaning only one channel or both channels are exactly the same. Stereo mics are designed to act like the ears of a human being. The output is in stereo, of course. Left and right channels are different, but not exactly dichotic in my use of the word. Omnidirectional picks up sound from all directions. If you're out recording ambient sounds, use this kind of mic. Omnidirectional mics try to emulate the environment in 360 degrees. The output is stereo. The last style is a podcast interview style. This is designed for people to record sitting across from one another at a table. It's kind of like rotating stereo 90 degrees. The difference is that the output is in mono and not stereo. Both sides feed into the same single output or the same sound on both left and right channels. The Yeti mic by Blue Microphones is and has been an affordable and durable USB mic that has a knob to select all the previously described options. I recommend it. It's the perfect mic for what we do and is flexible to do a large range of tasks. Just turn the knob to select any of the mic patterns. The thing about audio equipment is getting good sounding equipment isn't expensive, but getting from pretty good to state-of-the-art is very expensive. Fortunately, it's hard to hear the difference between pretty good and state-of-the-art. It's not worth the money to push all the way. Mic screens to prevent popping P's. Percussive consonants, P and B, or any sound you make that causes a sharp exhalation of air can pop a mic. Broadcast students used to have to learn to speak in such a way as not to pop their P's. Screens break up the air before it hits the mic so you don't hear it. The screens, of course, don't stop the sound. The first pop filters were nylon stockings stretched across coat hangers bent into a rough circle. You can buy them on Amazon, however, for about $10 to $12. How to use a mic. Position the mic 6 to 12 inches away from your mouth. The closer you are, the more gain or loudness you produce. Weak signals have to be boosted, and if there's any noise or hiss in the system, then that gets boosted too. If you're too close, you get clipping. Clipping is distortion. I use a floor mic stand because my tabletop mic stand, which came with my Yeti, picks up vibrations from probably my computer and adds an annoying hum in the background. Different software apps have different styles of meters. The meters let you know when you're getting too loud. This is more useful when assembling the pieces in the jigsaw method. It's hard to watch the meter while you're recording. You need to watch the meter so that collectively all of your pieces don't get too loud. We've talked about hardware and software and approaches to recording. We talked at the opening about the 3 dimensions your audio landscape represents. The horizontal x-axis, the vertical y-axis, z, the axis of depth. But there is a 4th dimension, time. And you experience time when your audio landscape tells a story. Your landscape moves through time as you speak your words, as you lead your client into the different stages of trance. Your audio environment should reflect that journey, which means an effective audio landscape is not static. It changes as your client changes. It changes to precipitate change in your client. This is where the art comes in. Digital Hypnotic Media 2.0 is a great deal more than a recorded script with added looping layers of ambient sounds over a binaural beat. Think of it as a difference between a folk song with a repeating verse and chorus versus a classical piece of music with developing themes, variations, key changes, rich spectrums of resonance, tone, and timbre. It's more than just a collage of sounds. A good audio landscape should complement your words, work with your language, at times echoing or contrasting, leapfrogging, hinting, and teasing. Sounds are as much symbols as words and images, whether the sounds are natural, abstract, or musical in nature. Sounds have connections and emotional connotations, sometimes emotions so subtle that we have no words to describe them. Your audio landscape should be a poem and not a generic news report. In digital hypnotic media 2.0, it is an essential element of your induction and not something tacked on. The best way to explain this is to let you experience an example. Are you ready? I'll include the recording with your digital swag bag, and you can listen to it again later and pick it apart to understand what I mean. Okay, make yourself comfortable if you're ready. Yeah, people are wiggling, right? You're getting down, finding that perfect spot. All right, so let me switch. Hopefully this will come through just as easily as before. And let's begin. Before we begin, I'd like you to make yourself comfortable in only every way. Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And because you're so experienced, you already know that this is the time to make certain that your head and neck are balanced. Because people who enter into a very deep trance are so relaxed that their heads may tip to one side or the other, to the left or to the right, sometimes forward, sometimes backwards. The important thing is to be totally relaxed and yet find balance so that you can remain completely loose yet stable. Sleep. Give yourself permission to go into hypnosis only as quickly as you can enjoy the sensation of only complete and total relaxation now. And so let all the tension from your body drain away. All your muscles go slack and limp. From the top of your head to the tips of your soul, feel yourself sinking, gliding, and drifting and turning in slow and lazy circles, like a leaf in a stream, with nothing you have to know, nothing you have to say, nothing you have to do, and nowhere you have to go. Sleep. Except deeper and deeper and deeper into a sublime state of relaxation, drifting and sinking higher and higher, slipping and sliding deeper and wider into a pleasant trance with no worries, no cares. Feel good. Feel accomplished. Feel safe. Feel in control. Feel confident. Feel comfortable and at ease. Feeling happy, whole, healed, and healthy. And as you continue to relax and balance, I'd like you to notice your breathing as you breathe in your special way. Everyone experiences trance sooner or later. As they breathe in this way that you are breathing now, in and out, in and out, deeper and deeper. I don't want you to not notice how you might feel as if you are entering into a pleasant dream. One that you would very much like to not forget to remember upon reawakening as it fades away, leaving a most pleasant taste in your mood for the rest of your day. Which means you can easily absorb what you learn by being relaxed even more. Relaxed and aware. Balanced, relaxed, and aware. Which means that every bone, every muscle, every nerve, every fiber of your being is loose and limp, and you feel wonderful. Hold that feeling for a moment and notice if there indeed isn't something different going on inside your heart and inside your mind now. You know what you want is to experience ongoing improvements, insights, and epiphanies, don't you? That's right. Relax even more now. All the way down. All the way down. And as you listen to the sound of my voice, both consciously and unconsciously, you may begin to immediately notice a number of gradual changes rapidly at work inside of you that you hadn't noticed before. The more you relax, the more changes you notice. The more changes you notice, the more easily you can imagine, design, and organize the changes you both want and need in attaining your professional and personal goals more and more easily, more and more rapidly, more and more solidly and soundly. Some of the changes may be tiny, although just as real, just as important, just as vital as only all the other differences that are even more apparent, more obvious, more immediate, because what you need is what you get. And what you imagine is what you experience when you do imagine your goals just as clearly as you imagine them now, more and more clearly with each passing minute, each passing hour, and each passing day. Listening while in hypnosis, both consciously and unconsciously, and listening while not in hypnosis are not unalike in as many ways of listening and all the different ways you can listen and understand fully and completely. More than only just the hearing and considering or remembering of what you heard and understood without exactly realizing how deeply such words move you and lead you into future days from the present, in the past, and improve your daily life, now and only always. Your conscious mind may have difficulty remember all you learn because of its limitations. Your unconscious mind, however, records everything in vivid detail and is at this moment sorting through these new ideas and finding applications to your own work, for your art, for your own personal benefit. So, go even deeper. Relax even more. which means a profound sense of ease and comfort is spreading throughout your body. The softness and sense of pure relaxation and vital energy feels better than you've slept in a good long time. As long as that may seem or appear to be the case when you've been so tired and slept so soundly undisturbed and without interruption for apparently no other reason than you just feel good and are comfortable and totally relaxed, recharged for each new day and ready to be your best. That's right. I'd like you to make the decision now to allow yourself to enjoy this process and accomplish all of your goals easily and in a timely manner. All the way down. There is a place in your heart and in your head where you store the memories of all the good people you've ever known, all the good times you've ever had, and all the wonderful places you've ever been. This special place may be a place you've really been to before, or it may be a place created wholly out of your imagination. I want you to take a moment and find that place. Or if it doesn't exist, I'd like you to create one and populate it with all these precious memories. This is important. There is no rush. So you can take all the time you need in the next few moments to just enjoy this process. And only as long as you choose to do so now, because this special place, you can never misplace, and no one can ever take it from you. It is yours in the most powerful and personal way. Simply know and understand you can revisit it whenever you need to. It is both a gift and a tool for making your way through dark days, or just to re-experience in fond recollection a happy past you earned, own, and richly deserve. Whenever you need a place to recharge your mind and spirit, all you have to do to return when it is an appropriate time and place to do so is close your eyes. Breathe in this special way that you are breathing now. And when you are ready, tell yourself you'd like to return to your safe place and stay for whatever length of time you need to feel your best and refreshed again. Feel all these great feelings again and again and again and again. And not only is it a repository for all the good things that have happened to you in the past, but it is also a place where you can design and develop your hopes, plans, and dreams for tomorrow.
Always have choices. Always have choices.
These hypnotic suggestions you experience, all for your personal improvement and well-being, are planted like seeds to grow deep and flourish in the rich soil of your unconscious and in the fields of your imagination, and upon reawakening become your guiding experience of reality. It's not necessary, of course, that you consciously remember all of these suggestions to act upon them, and you don't have to notice every single new improvement that enters into your life every day. You'll discover that you can hear my words again and again whenever you feel the need as they follow you throughout all the rest of your days. In a moment, you're going to reawaken feeling refreshed, relaxed, recharged, and alert all over, as if you've just had a 9-hour nap and a 45-minute back massage. From this moment forward, you use these suggestions to improve your life in only every way that you can imagine now and will imagine in your many days to come, more than just the literal suggestions you listen to here now. Your mind is forevermore an engine for perpetual, personal self-improvement and rejuvenation in every way: physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. 1, feeling wonderful. 2, to know that you have all the tools you need to become successful in your life in only every way. 3, free of doubt, free of anxiety, fear, free of stress, free of discomfort, free of anything to hold you back from your goals. 4, for yourself, for your family, your friends, for your community, for everybody believes in you. 5, alive, eyes open, wide awake, ready to rock and roll, remembering just how good you feel, how energized and focused you've become. And so concludes this portion of our program. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the BBC. Okay. I'm not hearing anybody.
That was trippy.
Oh, thank you. I see most people's microphones are still off, so you can turn them on and you can ask questions, make comments,
Yeah,
wipe your eyes.
Glenn, that was pretty amazing. I actually laid down on the forest floor here among the moss and the squirrels, and we all went very, very deep.
Well, very cool, very cool. Even when I would mix that, I would have a hard time not keeping my head up because I would I would plop down. It's fun.
So were those voices of people and thunder cracking in the background, or was that like my imagination?
There were multiple voices. They were all my voice.
Okay.
They were just layered up, and there was thunder. There were lots of sounds in there.
Yeah.
And one of the secrets for making good recordings like that is any one of those sounds by itself you probably wouldn't pay any attention to it, but it's the accumulation. And I learned that from guys who did movies. They would talk about how they would build up a scene, and it was like children playing in the background or a squeaking swing, things you might not even pay attention to, but in the mix, it all contributes to a very powerful visual picture of the space.
Very interesting.
Any other questions or comments? I would also say about binaural beats is be really careful. If there's all kinds of information now out there about binaural beats, and I see this sort of predominant feeling about the 40 megahertz being the most effective. I find it annoying. I don't use it at all. If it works for you, then that's fine. But I would be careful about playing just a binaural beat into your ear. It doesn't make any difference what the pitch is, because it could damage your ear if you hear the same thing for a half hour. And I've had sound engineers say, don't do that. If you mix other sounds in there, fine. It kind of gives some relief to the ear, but just to pound it with that same pulse over and over and over again, I would be reluctant to think that wouldn't be a good idea.
My son,
Go ahead.
my son produces music, and he has all the software and things.
Yeah.
Is it a big leap to go from music to voice?
No, it felt natural. I kind of did it and just wasn't even aware that I was doing it. It came from those early experiences of making stories with my students. We would write the script out, and then we'd want to record the words, and then someone says, "Well, we need to make it sound like we're on a beach, or whatever it was, or in the library." And so we record ambient sounds, and then we started adding music to that. And I don't know if you guys, there's this one really obscure movie. It's called La Jetée, The Jetty. It's a French movie by a filmmaker by the name of Chris Marker. And it's a series of black and white photos. Boom, boom, boom. And it's like a science fiction story about somebody from the future coming back to the past to try to change the fate of the world anyway. It's an excellent movie. It's like 26 minutes long, but it really bore in this mind about the voice being inside your head. It was a French narrator, but there was translation at the bottom. And he was inside my head. The first time I heard him, I was in college, and the voice was like inside my head with those soft French tones. And then the characters would be in a museum, and you could hear those acoustics of that sound bouncing off the walls. And then there would be it would be a translation, but there'd also be music with it, and that stuck in my head to this day. That's one of the huge influences on me. Is that early film? It's from about '62, black and white. I think I put a link on my on YouTube. You can see it there, and my digital swag bag for you guys.
Regarding binaural beats, I assume you're familiar with the work of Robert Monroe.
Probably have stumbled across it right off the top of my head. I don't know.
The Monroe Institute, he's been using binaural beats. Well, he's passed away, but he's been using them for years, and they have a wide range of recordings that will help you do all kinds of things with the binaural beats in them.
Yeah, I've looked on I've kind of done a survey and kind of went around the internet to see things, and there's some curious things. I found binaural beats, and each ear, so the ears have to be separate. They really do. If you can't listen to it out of the air and expect it to work, because then there's bleed over. If your headphones are the kind that touch the bones in your head, then that will conduct sound across, and that will kind of mess up the binaural beats. So the idea of having cushions and headphones is on purpose, is to keep the vibrating piece away from the bones of your head. So it's not just for comfort, but it's to keep that off. So if you use the in-ear headphones, there's going to be bone conduction in there. So that's going to kind of cancel the effect. But a lot of the recordings I hear, they'll have be very stereo for the two tones, but the ambient sounds they put on top are in mono. I go, why would they do that? I'm not sure what the purpose of that would be. It's like they very intentionally they made like that. One was somebody was, cooking breakfast on the stove, and it was the sizzle. But man, that was mono. I can hear mono out of that. I don't want to even get into what the possible health benefits would be. I hear reports one way or the other, and there's a lot of conflicting information. I just use it because I want to anchor the whole experience inside their head, and there's no easier way to place something in somebody's head than to do the binaural beats, because that pitch, which is lower than you can hear, is created in your mind, and that just relocates everything you're saying, pops it right inside their head. So it fills in the bass part, the lower pitch. You can't get lower than binaural beats. It's just not possible. It fills that part into your landscape, and then you start building your layers on top of that, and you get this full fleshed out experience. And then if your accompaniment to your voice tells a story, then you get that with your voice in the story, and you have a very powerful experience. It really, at least I think so. My purpose is to create. You guys are masters with, you know what to say, and you know how to say it, right? You guys are masters of that. And now I'm trying to create another environment to present those words in the way that you say them that is even more persuasive than you already have.
One more question. Can you comment on subliminal tapes and how they differ?
Yeah. I was actually going to put that in a presentation, and I thought, well, I'll wait in case somebody asks that. I don't want to go over my time too much. So subliminal suggestions, and I get this actually from Larry. Where is Larry? Oh, there he is. And it's from NLP. So NLP says, don't confuse the map with the territory. So we only really have one mind. This idea of having subconscious mind and unconscious mind, that's just a way of working with our minds. And we only have one pair of ears. And so it's not like our subconscious mind has a different pair of ears than our conscious minds do. So if you can't hear it, you can't hear it. It doesn't. Your conscious mind doesn't hear something that your unconscious mind can hear. It's just that's not the way we're wired. And so there's been research that says subliminal messages just don't work. And there might be somebody's. You guys might use that, and it might be part of your brand. Don't stop. Keep it up. Do what do what works for you. But I'm just saying what research says. However, there's something called perception without awareness, PWA. And perception without awareness is basically product placement. So if you watch a TV show and the bad guys are driving a Chevy and the good guys are driving Cadillacs or something like that, there's this, you can see it, but you're not really paying attention to it. And I think that would work with sound as well. You hear it, and I try to do that with my stuff, where there are words in the background, but your mind is being distracted someplace else. But your conscious mind or unconscious mind is collecting everything. It can hear everything. It's collecting everything, and then it starts to sort out all those pieces. That's when I had the multiple tracks. There were 3 voices going on at the same time, and one of them was like a musical round. One was slightly ahead of the other one. But I've had clients who'll listen to that and they go, what side am I supposed to listen to? I'd say, I don't know. What side do you think you should listen to? And so they would go back and listen. I listened to the left speaker this time. I said, well, if you're listening to the left speaker, what do you think is happening to the sounds on the right? And and so they would say, well, next time I'll listen to the other one. I said, I don't care what side you listen to. It's all good messages, right? And so it's just that overwhelming thing, and your unconscious mind doesn't get overwhelmed like that. It can pick those things out. So if you want to use subliminal, then I go right ahead. It's not going to hurt anything. But I don't personally think it's that effective. And I think if using perception without awareness, PWA, you can Google search that and you find lots of information about PWA.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? And I'm always eager to help anybody who's, I'm not going to charge any money, but if you have questions, just contact me. So what would be the best way for me to get the digital swag bag to people, Joni?
How big a file is it?
Not too terribly big.
I could send it out through email to everybody in this
Okay.
group.
I mean, I could put it in a Dropbox, and you could just send the link out. That would work, yeah. And so it'll have that last hypnotic recording, and then a few samples and some notes. And since it's recording, I can post this on our YouTube site in stereo, because Zoom does not record in stereo. So the recording that's being made is in mono. I see some nodding heads. I suppose that's
That's good.
some happy people here.
I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to the grab bag because I wasn't able to listen to it with stereophonic.
And I knew that would be an issue with some people. So you can go back and you can rewatch this on YouTube in stereo, and then the grab bag will have the trance thing at the end in stereo, and it makes a difference.
Right. I learned so much. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're interesting.
Yes, great job, Glenn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this. You're very knowledgeable and you're very generous with your wonderful voice and planting some good ideas in us.
I have a secret. A dirty secret to reveal is I have Invisaligns in, and every time I put a new set in, it changes the shape of my mouth, and I have to learn how to talk all over again. And then 2 weeks later, I've got to replace them. And so there's this perpetual struggling to speak more clearly. Was it Cicero put rocks in his mouth to learn how to speak more publicly? And it's kind of my experience of what's going on with me right now.
Just to
Glenn,
make sure,
I appreciated this so much. I've used Audacity, but I don't really understand sound. And this was just so helpful. And I'm much less confused than I was.
Oh, good. And if you ever have any questions, like why is this distorting or something, please contact me. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you so much. This was fascinating.
Thank you.
just to make sure just to make sure everybody understood the difference, the recording of this day's activities that's going to be posted on our website will not be in stereo. So if we want to hear you in stereo, we need to get it from wherever it is that you're going to post it. Is that correct, Joni?
Glenn.
I can make it available to wherever. I mean, actually, I have it posted on YouTube, and you have to have a special link to get there. And I could send that out if that would make things simpler.
So
Joni?
yeah, so what we normally do is we have it on Vimeo, so we don't have to worry about ads popping up in the middle. So we'll put this on Vimeo. And what I was going to talk to you about, Glenn, was taking your recording and putting it on Vimeo separately from this recording, and then have this recording just be the speaking part, not your presentation. So we would actually have two different videos of yours. One would be the one that you made, and then the second one would just be a cropped piece of this presentation.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
however you'd like. And the YouTube thing I have has no ads on it, and I've cut those all off so that it could play straight there too. Either way, it doesn't make any difference. It's a big file.
Okay, I do have something I need to add about YouTube. For those of you who are using the Chrome browser to watch YouTube, add the ad blocker, uBlock Origin. That's the letter U, BLOCK, new word Origin. I watch YouTube on my Chrome browser all the time, and there are never, ever ads.
Well, that's a plus. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Right.
So I turn this over to Joni then.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the